2024 Shaber 17 Goldie. All right, let's get you caught up on today's interaction with ChatGPT about IT theory. So I had noticed that in yesterday's conversation, the day before, whatever, the way she articulated the I didn't love. So here's one example. If a person encounters a potentially dangerous situation, then their fight or flight response may be activated. Another one was if an individual encounters evidence that appears to support the idea, this is for the appeal to recapitulation theory. If an individual encounters evidence that appears to support the idea that individual development recapitulates evolutionary stages, then they may interpret this evidence as confirmation of their pre-existing beliefs about the evolutionary history of the species. I don't think she did that right. Let me give you another example. If an individual encounters an unlikely outcome of a random process, this is for the inverse gambler's fallacy. If an individual encounters an unlikely outcome of a random process, then they may conclude that the process is likely to have occurred many times before. But I didn't like that. I mean, that's correct, except, well, you'll see. All right, here we go. Neo, I'm about to act this out. Neo. Hey, CG. I want to fine-tune how you formulate an it. Hey, CG, I want to fine-tune how you formulate an it. Oh, I have to, maybe what if I go here, boom, go back to the chat, let's try again. Oh. Alright, let's try again. Hey CG, I want to fine-tune how you formulate an it.
Of course. I'm here to help. Could you please provide more details or specific examples of the type of fine-tuning you're looking for in formulating if-then statements, ITs?
Give me an example of one as you'd formulate it now.
Sure. Here's an example of an if-then statement formulated within the context of IT theory. If an individual encounters a threatening situation, then their body activates the fight or flight response. This statement represents a basic if-then relationship, where the occurrence of a specific condition, encountering a threatening situation, triggers a corresponding action or response, activating the fight or flight response. This formulation captures the idea that certain stimuli or events can lead to predictable behavioral or physiological reactions in humans.
Great. Now, that formula makes it sound descriptive, but when I write in it, it's more deterministic and more of an instruction, a treatment of the information. For instance, I'd phrase that one as, if stimulus is threatening, then activate flight fright. Mind you, there might be another it, like, if in a movie theater, then inhibit fight flight. Because I didn't mean to say fright earlier, I meant to say fight. And these two its would interact. Neither it can tell us what the final behavioral result will be, nor how much influence it will have.
Got it. I understand your preference for a more deterministic and instructional formulation of if-then statements, ITs. Here's a revised version of the example using your preferred style. If stimulus is threatening, then activate flight fight. This formulation emphasizes the conditional nature of the relationship between the stimulus and the response, presenting it as a directive or instruction rather than a descriptive observation. It also highlights the deterministic aspect of the if-then relationship, indicating that a specific action, activating flight-fight, is expected to occur when the specified condition, encountering a threatening stimulus, is met. Thank you for clarifying your preferred approach to formulating
Okay,
ITs.
great.
If you have any other examples or specific guidelines you'd like me to follow,
let's talk about some vocabulary. There's a whole vocabulary that goes with it theory. For instance, to say that one it activates another, as in the sequence 1, if stimulus is threatening, then fight, flight. 2, if fight, flight, then flight. 3, if flight, then blood to legs.
certainly, it sounds like you're referring to the vocabulary associated with describing the sequence of if-then statements, ITs, within IT theory. Here's a breakdown of some key terms. 1. Activation. This term refers to the initiation or triggering of a particular IT in response to the fulfillment of its condition. In your example, the first IT, if stimulus is threatening, then fight flight, activates the subsequent ITs in the sequence. 2. Propagation. Propagation describes the process by which the activation of one IT leads to the activation of additional ITs in a sequential manner. In your example, the activation of the fight-flight IT in the first step propagates the sequence to the subsequent steps. 3. Cascading. Cascading occurs when the activation of one IT sets off a chain reaction of activations, leading to a series of interconnected ITs being triggered in succession. This term is often used to describe complex patterns of IT interactions within the larger network of cognitive processes. 4. Inhibition. Inhibition refers to the suppression or blocking of an IT's activation by another IT or external factors. In your example, there might be ITs that inhibit certain responses, e.g., if in a movie theater, then inhibit fight flight, to prevent unnecessary or inappropriate reactions in specific contexts. These terms help describe the dynamics of IT interactions and the flow of information within the cognitive system. By understanding how ITs activate, propagate, and inhibit each other, researchers can gain insights into the underlying mechanisms of human cognition and behavior. Let me know if you'd like further elaboration on any.
Sorry, I didn't say what the word was. In that sequence, 1 slaps, 2, which slaps, 3. Slap.
Ah, I see. You're referring to the concept of slapping within the context of IT theory. In IT theory, slapping is a colloquial term used to describe the sequential activation of if-then statement ITs, where the fulfillment of the condition in one IT leads to the activation of another IT, and so on. It's a way of illustrating the flow of information or the propagation of cognitive processes within the larger network of ITs. So, in your example sequence, 1, if stimulus is threatening, then fight flight. 2, if fight flight, then flight. 3, if flight, then blood to legs. Each IT slaps the next one in the sequence, indicating that the activation of one IT triggers the activation of the subsequent IT, leading to a cascading effect of cognitive responses. This concept helps visualize how cognitive processes unfold and interact within the framework of IT theory.
Pulse is the opposite of slap. Hype means to excite. Pi means to inhibit.
Got it. It seems like you're using the terms pals and pi as opposites of slap and hype, respectively, within the context of IT theory. So in this framework, slap represents the sequential activation of if-then statements, ITs, where one IT triggers the activation of the next one. Pals would then represent the opposite action, where one IT inhibits or suppresses the activation of the next one. Hype refers to the activation or excitation of an IT, while pi would indicate the inhibition or suppression of an IT. These terms help describe the flow of information and the dynamics of cognitive processes within the IT framework, providing a way to conceptualize how different cognitive responses are triggered or inhibited based on specific conditions and interactions between ITs.
I refer to the brain as the sit stem from the words system and it, which you pronounce as IT. Activite is the activity of the system, or part of it, at a given moment. Humans' activite in the morning after exercise is different from their activite at 3 a.m. when drunk, or 10 a.m. for me. Liver is a verb for when its interact. In liver is the intake of stimuli. Intraliver is livering between its within the system. Ex-liver means to produce a behavioral output. For instance, in the fight-flight intralivery